prophecy, and we gave from them from the good things. And we raised them, or we favored them over the other nations. And we gave them clarity from the commands. But then they differed after those clear commands and guidance came to them. After clear knowledge came to them, then they began to dispute amongst each other. Then we made for you a sharia from the command, so that you may follow it and that you may not follow the desires of those who have no knowledge. Today's khutbah subject, dear brothers and sisters in humanity, is in regards to the importance of activism from the Islamic context and what guides that activism. We have, on the one hand, we have a type of sensitivity or misunderstanding amongst people, some people of religion, that their deen or their way of life is nothing but a situation of only spiritual purification or religion in the private space, but it has no public space or no public demonstration to better society. Some sociologists call this the domestication of religion. It's going on for a long time, where people say religion only has a private space, but it's a public space, no public space. It affects your moral life as an individual and worship, but it has no ethical consequences or no proactivity in society. This is a misunderstanding of what deen is supposed to be. This is called domestication of religion. And in fact, when Allah Azza wa Jalla says, "Inna dinu indallahi Islam," that this is talking about an entire way of life for those who adhere to the deen of Islam. Different from how people understand religion. Islam is not a religion, it is a deen, it is a comprehensive way of life that influences the socio-political life of man, as well as the inward spiritual connection between a human being and their Lord. But my focus today, brothers and sisters in Islam, is we are here at the U.S. Social Forum. And the U.S. Social Forum is a gathering of people who are activists. They understand or have a passion for getting involved in activism to promote those things that are just in society and in the world, and to try to place barriers amongst those things that bring about injustice and oppression. So the other problem is, we have on the one hand those people who see no role in quote-unquote religion in regards to the public space or bringing about positive change in society. On the other hand, there are people who are involved in activism but do not have a clear criterion or a clear parameters of how to go about that activism. And this is based, or the Muslims have the criterion based in what Allah Azza wa Jalla revealed to Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alayhi wa alihi wa sallam as the Sharia. What is the Sharia? The Sharia is not just a system of laws relating to punishments. This is a misunderstanding. You can't go to any one book and find one book that says Sharia. People confuse fiqh with Sharia. They confuse jurisprudence with Sharia. What Dr. Tariq Ramadan has given us a definition, may Allah preserve him, in regards to what is Sharia. And Sharia is a path or a means in which to fulfill the commands and the ordinances of Allah to bring about the good life and to bring about justice for all people. So Sharia isn't in itself a particular system. There are objectives within the Sharia to meet these needs. And fiqh is how we understand the jurisprudence about reaching these objectives. But it is not Sharia in the sense of having one book saying Sharia or that Sharia can be imposed upon people. The basis of Sharia and the hudud, or the limits, is firstly a spiritual connection and a spiritual realization between an individual with their creator, Allah Azza wa Jal. In the truest sense, Sharia cannot be imposed upon people. Sharia for the believer is something based upon a belief of how one follows not only their worship, but all of their social actions within a society to bring about certain objectives. And these objectives, as defined by Imam Shatibi, rahimahullah ta'ala, is working towards the protection and preservation of life, the protection and preserving of deen, the preserving and protection of al-aql, meaning of intellect, the having the ability to reason and have intellectual property, to preserve and protect al-mal, which means property, or we can also say wealth, to have economic independence and economic dignity, and to also preserve and to protect posterity or offspring, children. These are the objectives of the Sharia. And this is what we Muslims within our activism, we should be guided by this maqasid al-Sharia, or these 5 objectives. Allah Azza wa Jal tells us firstly, Ya ayyuhalladhina amanu, ati'u Allah wa ati'u Rasula wa uli amri minkum. Oh, those of you who believe, obey Allah, obey God, obey the messenger, and obey those who are amongst the authority from you. This is the first litmus test of what dictates our activism, or what we should not be involved in return to our activism. What Allah, who Azza wa Jal, has clearly commanded. And we have those commands clear in the Quran. And what the Messenger sallallahu alayhi wa alihi wa sallam commanded. How do we know what the Messenger sallallahu alayhi wa alihi wa sallam commanded? Through their traditions. Through what is called as sunnah, through the traditions. And those things that are called fi'lun amr, or imperative commands. Those things that we know have sound narrations called mutawatir or tawatur. That there's no doubt about these narrations. They've been commanded. We are obligated to try to implement those things in our activism in society, to bring about goodness and justice for everyone, be they Muslim or people of other faiths. And obeying those who are in authority amongst the people, who think, who contemplate, and based upon the Quran and the Sunnah, those commands of Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, and the ijma' of the companions and Ahlul Bayt, the Prophet's household, seek to make determinations based upon those things to guide activism within the community. Allah Azza wa Jalla also says, Kul, in kuntum tuhibbunallah fatabi'uni. He commanded Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alayhi wa alihi wa sallam, say, if you love God, then follow me. Then the ayah continues, then I will love you, and I will forgive you of your sins, and surely Allah is the all-forgiving, the most merciful. These commands, brothers and sisters, that guide our activism also have a spirit behind them in their application. And this is what goes into our fiqh of our activism. Fiqh loosely has been translated as jurisprudence, but it comes from the word which means to comprehend.